Everybody, St. Paul here. Welcome to episode 35 of Music on the Run. I'm in my hood here. This is where I grew up. It's raining today. That means spring is coming, and I'm happy about that. And guess what? My next guest, he's like my little brother. Bryan White is next on Music on the Run. Before we get started here, do me a favor. Wherever you got this podcast, make sure you subscribe, give us a rating, and if you have time and like what you're hearing, make sure you write a review. It really helps us get the word out so we can have a lot more people coming to the party. Hey everybody, I'm St. Paul Peterson. Prince gave me that nickname, and I've been lucky enough to tour with people like the Steve Miller Band, Kenny Loggins, Peter Frampton, Donny Osmond, to name a few. And when I'm not playing music, I love to run. And this is a podcast about how we stay healthy on the road, physically, mentally, and with our families. Welcome to Music on the Run. Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson, and welcome to episode 35 of Music on the Run. Sitting here back in the basement. You know what? It's warming up finally here in Minnesota. The snow's melted. Feels finally like spring. And I've been out running a bunch. I finished my first in-person race, 7-miler, and my time wasn't too bad for an old geezer. I'm really happy with it. I'm just got to put some more miles in, get my base, and maybe I can convince our next guest to come up in September and run either the half or the full marathon here in the Twin Cities. Anyways, my next guest is a CMA and AMC and Grammy-winning singer, songwriter, producer, drummer, and guitar player. He's got 6 number 1 singles to his credit. He's a runner as well, an outdoorsman, and he hosts his own podcast, and he's one of my dearest buddies on the planet. Please welcome Bryan White. B-Dub in the house.
It's so good to be actually talking to you. We've been trying to lock this down for, I'm embarrassed to say, way too long.
I mean, I didn't even want to say how long. It's been a long time. I've been trying to track you down. You're a busy guy.
You are too.
I know. It's how can you be busy in COVID? What did you do? What have you been doing? Fill us in.
Gosh, where to start? I mean, obviously, the onset was scary for all of us. We lost all of our work. I think it pushed us all out of our comfort zone in a good way. I just started doing a lot of virtual things, that I probably wouldn't have thought to do otherwise. I started doing a lot of, VIP meet and greet concert type things. And then I did some, live performances via Facebook, and that was kind of in the beginning. And then I've been doing a lot of, philanthropy work with a great healthcare system in Spokane, Washington. And it's been super fulfilling to be doing that kind of work, which is, connecting them with potential partnerships and helping them with some of their musical events that raise money for mental health and cancer research. And so I've been doing a lot of that kind of work too. Just, stuff that's really fulfilling, when you lay your head down at night, you're like, man, I'm so honored to be a part of that. For instance, like recently, I think you probably saw some of it, but it was kind of my first event to co-produce. And it was called Heartstrings for Hope. And it was, we did, I worked with the Grammys and Multicare Inland Northwest Foundation. And it was a virtual concert of over 25 artists from all these different genres, from Jordan Fisher to, Tim McGraw. I mean, just literally across the board. And it was somewhere in person. We recorded some of the live performances at the Virgin downtown here in Nashville. And then those who couldn't be a part of it physically, couldn't be there, they sent in a video, and and it was all for mental health. And so I've been doing a lot of that kind of work because that's, you know a little bit of my story. So that the mental health stuff is something that's really close to my heart. And so when you're doing that kind of work, it doesn't feel like work because you're so passionate about it. So, I've been doing a lot of that. And gosh, I don't know what I'm on a tour right now with a couple other artists. And
great.
It feels good to be back out on the road. And so just kind of, I've been busy. So I'm grateful to say I've been busy.
And you're in that beautiful house in Nashville now, full disclosure here, Bryan is like my little brother, okay? And I've stayed with him. We've worked together. We've toured together, the whole bit. But how are Erica and the boys?
They are actually really good. I say that, but, the reality of our past year, we've all had, seasons where we haven't been as good. It's been a trying year for all of us, and we've all had our moments and our months that were very big struggles for all of us. But today we're good.
I think that's
my family's good. I just can't believe how fast my kids are growing. I've almost got a senior, pretty close to having a senior. And they're just big, super athletic kids that inspire me. And, of course, having teenagers is challenging, as you know. You're way ahead of me on that. But my wife is great. We're all great. We just keep moving forward.
Please give everyone my love. And please save that bedroom for me because I got to get back down to Nashville. We got to run. We got to hang. We have a lot of catching up to do.
Oh yeah. Hey, by the way, I've been doing pretty well running too. I think I'm like you. When you don't have a goal of a race to look forward to, sometimes you have a hard time being motivated, or at least I do anyway. So you said are they having the race?
Yeah.
Are they have the races this fall?
They just announced about 3 races. So I just told the people at the top of the show that I ran my first in-person race. I think it was called the Shamrock 7. And, look, I'd like to be able to tell everybody that I've been running 45 miles a week, but I'm not. So I was very happy to finish. And I actually finished in a time that was respectable. But the most fun for me is the camaraderie of going with the geezers of gear. I was with my buddy Bill and showing up and seeing other people. And even though we couldn't get near each other, and it was super safe, I felt super safe. We had masks on at the beginning. I made sure not to get in anybody's way, and they limited the entry. And I thought they did a fantastic job, but you're absolutely right. Just having something to look forward to, something to train for, it's a mental thing for me. And yes, so in other words, yeah, they're starting to have races. Are they doing that down in Nashville too?
I don't think they're doing the rock and roll this year. As I understand, it's not happening this year. I did book as all of our musician friends know, like a lot of times we'll book a gig that's in conjunction with something. And I booked a gig in Nevada, Iowa, and I think it's a 5K, and they asked me if I wanted to run in it, and that's in May. So
I'm coming.
I can finally say I'm on a race again, even though it's 3 miles. I'm going to run it the day of the gig. So super excited about that.
Oh, that's great. So have you been training or running? You've been pretty good about getting out in the neighborhood and running a little bit, or?
Pretty good. It's weird. It kind of ebbs and flows again. Like when you don't have a goal, other weeks I feel super motivated and other weeks I don't. So I might run 30 miles in a week, and then the next week I might run 15 miles, so it's kind of, but I stay active. I'm definitely running quite a bit. I got to tell you, I've never been a Brooks fan per se, but I did this podcast. It was a Brooks podcast. It was called Running the 615. I don't know if you heard it, man. I talked about you all through the podcast.
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't heard it yet, but I'll go check it out.
No, it's okay. I love being able to, they asked me who's kind of my running cohort community, of accountability friends. And I went through everybody, you and Davide, and I talked about Chicago when we ran Chicago. And
I've got it on today, my Chicago shirt.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So anyway, I got a pair of shoes out of the deal, which is really cool. But I was super honest with the guy. I was like, man, I got to be honest. I've always been kind of a New Balance guy. I've always had good luck with them because it's a really large, something about their toe box just works for me. I've got super wide feet. And he goes, give it a try. If it doesn't work, I've got some others that'll work for you. But anyway, it took me a little while with this pair of shoes that he gave me, and I'm kind of off to the races with this pair of Brooks, and I've never really had a lot of luck with Brooks, and so I've been running these Brooks, and they're working for me. So pretty cool.
I have been a one-trick pony with my shoes. I don't like change very much. Either does my bride. She's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I've been running in Newtons my entire career, and I went off of Newtons, and I started having problems. And I really don't think it's related to me changing shoes necessarily. It could be to the fact that I run my shoes too far into the ground before I go to a new pair. It could be a number of different things, but my Fates I just absolutely love, and I stick with them, and it works for me. I'm glad to hear that you're having luck with those, though. I may have to, check those out for sure.
Yeah.
Your knees don't hurt. You feel pretty good, huh?
I feel pretty good. I have neck issues. My story. I've had some neck issues since the late 90s. I feel a little bit of fatigue in that area sometimes when I run and I haven't run in a while, but I don't have any, I'm afraid to say, but I don't have any issues physically with running. It's thank goodness. Now lifting weights or anything like that, I think it would probably aggravate this stuff, but running, thank goodness, is the one thing that has not beat me up too bad. I haven't had any knee issues or anything. So.
Well, I love the fact that we jumped right into talking about running. Usually, it's towards the end of the segment. But you've been running for how long? I mean, you haven't run your whole life, have you?
No.
When did you get into it?
I'm gonna say, I want to say like 2008 or 2009.
Yeah,
sounds, feels right. I did this. My brother really well. My brother, he called me one day and he goes, man, I've had this agent that's looking for an act to do the post show at the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon. You want to do it? And so I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And he goes, well, let's run the race. And I was like, get out of town. No way. I'm not. No way. I hate running. And he somehow over the course of 2 or 3 weeks kind of coaxed me into it. He guilted me into it because he said, well, let's do it and let's raise money for Food for the Hungry, and we'll do it that way. And I said, well, I'll start running with you and we'll see how it goes. And it was miserable for a while, and somebody made me go to Fleet Feet here in Nashville. That's a franchise. I don't know if there's a Fleet Feet in Minneapolis or not, but they're all over the place. But they, like digitally measured my feet, let me run in multiple different pairs. And I mean, it literally changed my life. I mean, changed the whole game for me. And so that was my first race. My brother and I did the half marathon there, and it's like something just clicked, and I became a runner, and like I talked about in this podcast I did, it's physically it's great for you, but mentally I'd say it's probably more important mentally. Running is like this tool that I have now. Like if I'm having this really crappy day, I can always go out and run, and it doesn't make everything go away per se, but it kind of helps things, it helps you to deal with things a little bit better. Like you told me a long time ago, you just got to move your body at least 25 to 30 minutes a day, and it's just a nice tool to be able to have to sort of, go out and air it out and make yourself better,
Right. When you're on the road, do you give yourself a chance to go out and run when you're out playing?
I do. I mean, if I, normally, it's like load ins 2, you maybe check between 3 and 4, and then you've got this window of time until you got to be back, to the venue or whatever. And then usually in that time is when if the weather's bad or I can't find a good route, I'll do the treadmill. I don't know if you're like me. I hate the treadmill. I can't.
It's not my favorite place to run.
Hate it. Yeah. But yeah, I do. I do try to run when I'm on the road, especially on performance days. I think it really helps me a lot to go do that workout before I go sing.
That's so funny because there's been other schools of thought on that, because I asked this question to a lot of the people who come on here. And some people will say, I don't want to run on a school day, or whatever you want to call it, or show day, because they think that takes your mind off your focus. And to each their own, of course.
Sure.
I'm of the mind, we're like-minded in the fact that I think it enhances my ability to focus for the show. So, and what it does is it clears my mind, it gets me away from my phone, and for me, it does the same thing as it does for you, and it just helps with the stresses of everything you've got to do. Now, look, you're the star, and you have so much going on. Do you wish that you were running back, like in the early 90s and mid 90s when you had all these number ones and the pressures of the business? Do you wish that you could have told yourself, man, you should have, someone could have told you that you should have run in those days?
Absolutely. I think it would have really helped me mentally during all that, because, somebody that young carrying that weight, and, a lot of people don't know how hard it is to have that much focus on you when you've got this immense pressure to, you've got this 90-minute show and you're playing an arena or whatever, and all these eyeballs are on you. That's a lot of pressure to deal with. And I think that would have definitely helped a lot to had that tool of being able to go out and run like that.
Did you do anything back in those days, physical? Did you have enough time?
I'll tell you, one of the guys that was a major influence on just working out, period, and which is how we know not how we know each other, but I know him because of you. Joey Finger was a huge influence on me. He was kind of that. Remember that old Merry Melodies cartoon? I'm going to date us here, but remember it was like the big bulldog. His name was Butch, and the little dog was always messing with him. He was like, "Hey, Spike, come on, let's go." That was Joe. Joe was like nudging me in my bunk, going, "Hey, they got a nice workout facility here at the hotel. Let's go." I mean, he was just on me all the time, and he was the one that sort of taught me how to work out correctly. We did do some running back then, but I remember it just being loathsome. I mean, I hated every second that we ran. And I think it was my shoes more than anything. I had no idea how much of an importance shoes played in that, or I may have become a runner back then. But Joe was a big influence on me, health-wise and workout-wise.
That's kind of a funny story. So the guy he's mentioning, Joe Finger, he's a regular on Funk Friday. He's played, I don't know how many, 10 of the Funk Fridays, and
which are awesome, by the way.
Oh, you like those?
I
gotta get you on one. You gotta play on one. Oh, well, that's gonna happen. All right. So Joe is a dear friend of mine. He's living in LA. I'm hanging out with Bryan in Nashville with Rick Barron. You were looking for a drummer. I think you were still living in your old house, the old Derek band house.
Yeah.
And you were doing auditions, and I didn't know how to quite approach this, to put one of your dear friends' name into the hat, but I just, back in those days, I'm like, why not tell him, right? And I did, and you're like, well, sure, well, let's give him a shot. And I called Joe on the phone. I said, what are you doing right now? He said, nothing. I said, go pick up Bryan White's this, that, the other thing, get on a plane, and get your butt to Nashville. He shows up. He goes in for the audition. Rick Barron, this other friend of mine, and I are sitting outside like parents, of their kid auditioning. And I don't remember if you decided right away or you waited a day, but long story short, and maybe you can interject something in this, but he got the gig. You should tell me your side of that story.
We didn't have any production in this garage. It was my old house in Green Hills, which I wish I had never sold because it was such a cool house. But I had either moved here or I was moving here. I think I was already here in this home, but we basically just had a kit in the garage and maybe just a few things, maybe an amp and just hardly anything. And, I remember Joe showed up. We had like 2 or 3 guys come by that day and we were just like, oh my God, this is awful, And Joe walked in and, just literally lit up the room and he played everything great. I could just, I'm so critical, when it comes to drummers and, you could just tell Joe was just a master and he played the country stuff really well. And then we, just played, some funky stuff for a while and had fun. But I knew immediately, I knew it was like, I didn't have to think about it. It was like, oh my God, we got to hire this guy. So, and he sang really well too. So he was kind of a double threat. He did, 2 different things really well. And plus personality wise, we just hit it off so well. I got to tell this story.
Please.
This is just evidence of the humility that comes over with age. We were playing his first gig. His first gig was the Target Center in Minneapolis. You were there, and
yeah, I was. I
think you got up and played B3 on something. And we didn't really know each other that well yet. We were all kind of getting to know each other, and Joe did so well. It was such a fun, just epic gig. And I said something so stupid on stage. I said, "It's so great to be in the land of 1,000 lakes." And it was like crickets, man. It's like a sea of crickets, like nothing. People just kind of had that. Did he say 1,000? And then after we're done with the gig, I come back in the locker room and Joe, we're all kind of unwinding and talking about the show. And Joe is like hysterically laughing. And he tells me later nowadays, he was like, I was afraid. I wasn't sure whether to say anything or laugh about it or what, because he said, I didn't know you. I didn't know if I was going to get fired if I said anything. And he goes, dude, that land of 1,000 lakes. And I was just like, what? He goes, dude, it's land of 10,000 lakes. And I was mortified. Back then I was so self-conscious and it just mortified me. And he put his arm around me and he's laughing. I know you can see that laugh.
Of course.
And Joe's got his arm around me. He goes, don't worry about it, man. You're only off 9,000. Don't worry about it.
Oh, man, that's so good. And
I was always that guy too. If there was something that could be said wrong or the wrong city, or I was always that guy. So
I've got one more for you. Okay. First of all, let me backtrack a little bit. So I've known Bryan a long time. I started going out on the road with him. Maybe we'll have time to go back and talk about how we met. But long story short, he came to town to play a gig. He came out to see me because you're a Prince fan,
big,
right?
Yeah.
So we met, we hung out. He said, yeah, why don't you come out on the road sometime and hang out? And I actually showed up. And I think your band was like, what's going on here? But you invited me. I hung out on the bus. I sat in. We funk out at, on the sound checks. And anyways, we became fast friends. And so I'd pop out from time to time. And there was one other story that is so classic. And hopefully this is still funny to you. But
I'm scared. I don't know what it is.
You did a gig in Memphis.
Oh my God.
And we had a little spelling problem with the word Memphis, and you were singing about it on stage. Let me hear you say Memphis. Memphis. Yeah, that made me so proud. I was so proud.
God.
I'm like,
I'll never forget that. We were going into a tune, but we were playing high fashion, bro.
Were you really?
You were playing high fashion at like leading into one of my songs. Cause we were like, oh man, we'll really impress Paul. We'll be playing one of his songs. I was that way. I was always trying to sort of nod the hat to people I respected, which you were. I was immediately a huge fan of yours, but, and we did that whole thing, and I was kind of chanting Memphis, but I spelled it wrong. And you came up on the bus. You had a manager or something with you, I remember. And you came up on the bus, and you were like, guys, it sounded awesome. It was great. It's so awesome. I mean, you loved the show. It was great. And like you had this elation going on, and then like just like your poker face, you were like this, and then you went, Memphis? You went from, I was just Memphis? Just like that. I swear to God, I'll never forget it. So,
oh, buddy, we've had some good times out there, man.
Classic,
Woo!
yeah.
All right, so we got to talk about your family a little bit. We got to talk about growing up in Oklahoma. Your mom and dad, musical, right?
Yes.
So did they groom you intentionally to become a professional musician, or were both professional musicians? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so music is around your house all the time. What kind of stuff are they playing at this point in time when you're a kid growing up?
Well, I always tell people they were the first celebrities that I encountered as a kid. So they were always larger than life to me. Mm-hmm. I always had a reverence for my parents, which is, I'm sure I went through a phase where they weren't that cool to me, but for the most part, I always really looked up to them. And they were divorced in 1979, and my dad always had an affinity for, my parents were really kind of an amalgamation of everything. I've got 45s of them doing, the Supreme stuff, and my dad's doing Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself on a 45 record. And then my dad kind of got bit by the Jessica and the Allman Brothers and, that whole Southern rock thing. And then something happened in the early 80s with Merle Haggard, and my dad just like became this huge Merle fan. And then my mom was always a huge, they had to play all this different style of music because they had to eat. So, I would be at my mom's house one weekend, and my mom would be learning and writing down the lyrics to, Kenny Loggins stuff, from the Vox Humana record. And, sure. And then, my dad's working on, I'd go to his house and I'd hear totally other side of the, fence as far as music goes. And so I grew up kind of in this melting pot of so many great things. And I really attribute that to why my records have always sounded the way they sound, and kind of my vocal style was kind of this, you know, it came from all of that stuff. But no, they didn't coach me to be a musician necessarily. They weren't the type of parents that were like, you know, what are you going to do? Or, you know, like, you need to really practice harder, or, you know, it wasn't really that. I think they knew that I had a musical sense about me early on. And I think sometime around my 10 or 11 or 12 age, I started kind of jumping in and playing drums with my dad every now and then my mom every now and then. And so I think that was sort of the first little kind of nod from them that, hey, you know, you've obviously, you know, they're not going to ask you to be a part of something if it's awful. So,
yeah,
you know, that was kind of their way of giving me that first little, you know, word of affirmation, was letting me be a part of what they were doing. And then I got better and started getting into playing guitar and singing and wanting to write songs, and developed, you know, my vocal style started happening. And, you know, but I wouldn't say they were grooming me necessarily, but maybe they were indirectly, you know.
They were giving you the opportunities that just one of the byproducts of that.
Like your whole family, it's the same thing. You know, you had to start somewhere, and they, you know, I have so many very vivid memories of just playing in clubs and different things with my parents. And I remember it just being just being asked to go play was such a, I mean, you know how that feels when you're young. I was just like, oh my, you know, my whole day, my whole week was anticipating that one night. I just couldn't wait, you know.
Did you do that all through high school then?
I did.
Okay. And when did you decide that this is really going to be my call, or this is my calling? I need to make my way down to Nashville. Was that something that happened right around those times, or when did that decision making happen?
We're
going to take a little break from the interview right now because I want to tell you about a couple of really cool things. First of all, we're having so much fun with our weekly 1-minute funk jams called Funk Friday. We've had so many world-class musicians on Funk Friday, including members of the Steve Miller Band, Fleetwood Mac, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Earth, Wind & Fire, just to name a few. You can check that out on all of our social media, but you can also see it on our YouTube channel. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of our members who have supported us on Patreon. Don't know what Patreon is? Go to www.patreon.com/Music on the Run podcast, and there you'll get all sorts of information on how you can financially help us produce this podcast. There are all kinds of incentives listed there on the website, and there are many different levels on how you can become involved. We could not put on this podcast without our patrons. All right, let's get back to the interview. When did that decision making happen?
So I heard this guy named Steve Warner when I was about 14, and that was a real defining moment for me too. He's kind of, to me, I always explain to people that don't know anything about Steve, I'll say, well, he was kind of my Glenn Campbell. He was really a triple threat. Mm-hmm. Great vocalist, great tone, great phrasing, exceptional guitar playing, great, songwriter. I heard him and something sort of clicked for me. I kind of had my muse, if you will. I went, oh, that's what I want to sound like, and that's the kind of music I want to make. Mm-hmm. So that was a defining moment for me. When I was 17 or 18, my dad called me and he said, Joe Settlemyers, who is a really renowned guitarist in Oklahoma City, jazz guy, who gave me my first 2 lessons, he called me and said, Joe said that Billy Joe Walker Jr. is looking for talent. He's wanting to move into, producing. And Billy was an exceptional guitar player that's played on everybody's records from, the Beach Boys to Lionel Richie to, you name it, just one of those kind of guys. And I had 2 demos of a couple of things that I had written. You remember those cassettes where they were remember at state fairs where you'd go in and you could sing your favorite song, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Well, that was kind of one of my first experiences in the studio. My mom got me a gig singing at this studio in Oklahoma City where I would sing the reference vocal, so my vocal would be on one side and the instrumental would be on the other. And I convinced the studio to do a trade out for a couple of things that I had written that I wanted to cut with a band. And long story short, those 2 demos that I did, that I basically ate my check to trade out to do a couple of songs that I'd written, which were not great, but I think they showcased my voice enough. And those ultimately were the songs that, I sent them to Billy, this guitar producer here in Nashville. And that's ultimately in a roundabout way. That's kind of how I got to Nashville and how I got a deal and how I got going. Cause Billy was the guy that ushered me in, developed me and took me in and got me my first deal and produced my first 3 records. So
that's a big move though. You went down there by yourself. Did you know anybody besides those guys?
I knew a couple of people, but not very many people.
Wow.
I just kind of had that. I don't know. I love watching the Jaws is one of my favorite movies, but I like watching the commentary and watching the interviews, the making of, and I like listening to Steven Spielberg talk. And he said one of the things he remembers the most about Jaws is he said it was a combination. He said it was a combination of courage and stupidity, and it all exists. He thinks of those 2 things existing underwater. And I think my moving to Nashville was a little bit of courage and stupidity. I just didn't know any better, but I had a strong enough pull into it. I had an intuitiveness about it. Just felt so powerful to me that I just felt like I was supposed to be there. I didn't really know if I was going to be an artist or not. I just felt like I needed to be here and I felt like I was supposed to be here, whether it was to be a drummer or a background singer or whatever. I just knew, I felt like I needed to be here, and it was so powerful. It pulled me here,
The confidence to be able to go do that is unbelievable. I don't know whether you said stupidity, but I think it's self-confidence, being a 20-year-old, not knowing any better. Yes. But going down there saying, I got this. I mean, sometimes I wish I had a little bit of that 20-year-old I could just bring right back,
Me too. Because I don't think I would do that now.
If I knew then what I know now, it would be a whole different story. Oh, so you are thrust into the limelight pretty much right away. I mean, that first record, what was it like hearing yourself on the radio for the first time?
Oh man, it's just otherworldly, it's really hard to explain. I remember where I was in between Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona, and I was on a radio tour, and I heard myself on the radio, and it was just, it always sounded so different to me then, when you heard it on the radio, because sometimes they would VSO it up a little bit, and it had all this, the compression was, like way more compression than you were used to. And so it had this exciting sound when you heard yourself on the radio, but it was just so cool. It was just so neat to hear this work that you've worked on for months. It's like you're getting to hear it and know that there are hundreds of other people listening to it as well. It's exciting.
Did you have any idea what you were getting yourself into?
I had no idea. Absolutely no idea. My brass ring then was I got a record deal and I got to cut a record, and my parents, I remember the label asking me where I wanted, CDs mailed to and posters. And I specifically mailed them to my mom and my dad and my grandparents. And to me, that was it. I was like, okay, well, I got to show them that I came all the way up here and I did this.
I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the full manifestation of my dream right there. So I didn't even think past that,
Wow. Did you have fun during those initial years? Do you recall that as being a fun point in your life?
Wow, that's a great question. I think yes and no. I mean, I think there were times where it was really fun. I used to tell people when I felt the most free was when I was on stage, because I knew for that 75 to 90 minutes, management and label and nobody could touch me. I felt kind of invincible when I was up there. A lot of times I didn't want to come off stage because I knew that all the BS was going to start as soon as it's like, that was the hardest part was that stuff. All the work and the leg work was not fun. And I always felt like, my team, I never felt like we took time to really celebrate the successes. I felt like it was always like, as soon as we had something good happen, it was like, okay, cool, we've got to outdo that. I always felt like there was just like this constant train moving where I always felt like, wait, this was really cool, that this thing that just happened, can we just kind of hang out here for a little bit? We couldn't. It was always, we need another, Rebecca Lynn, or we need it was like this constant machine that was moving, and you felt, like it sounds cliche, but you really are getting pulled from multiple directions. And I remember one time off the cuff, I decided I wanted to go fly to see my mom. I just bought it back when you could just drive to the airport and get on a plane. And I flew to see my mom, and everybody flipped out because they didn't know where I was. And I didn't announce it to anybody, but I was over it. I was like, I want to go see my mom. I want to go hang out and see my mom and eat Mexican food. That's what I wanted to do. And people literally flipped out, but I'm kind of going off on a rabbit trail here, but I think there were moments that were really fun. I mean, times like, when you would come out on the road and we just knuckleheads just goofing off and going to eat sushi and, long sound checks where we just played whatever we wanted. That was the stuff that was fun. But it was the pressure type stuff, the tedious, the leg work kind of really, that kind of stuff that kind of wore me out, that I wasn't really strong enough back then as a personality to step in and go, what, I need a break. And I think if I could go back, that would be the one thing I would have done a little bit more of, was just say, what? I mean, work hard until it's time to release your record or whatever. And just I wish I would have allotted more time for, a little more me time back then.
Well, you were on top of the world, #1 hits, lots of award shows, a Grammy.
Hanging out with St. Paul. I mean, come on.
Hey, you and I had a lot of fun. You know what? You did take time out to hang out with me. Hopefully that was fun for you. But we really, I think in those days, you needed someone to tell you it was okay to have fun and just quit for a minute and hang out with your buddies. I mean, you were really always, if I remember correctly, always super tight with your band. And you guys were complete knuckleheads, which of course I loved and fell right in with. So did that really become your family out there and your support system? Was it your band that helped you out?
Yeah, I think so. They were always the people that just told me like it was. I mean, sometimes we would all get in, arguments because, they didn't have a filter. And looking back, I'm grateful for that. they wouldn't have ever let my head explode. And when it came close to it, they were always the ones to step in and go, man, who do you think you are? That kind of stuff. And so they were great for me. And there were some things that, were not so great. I was so impressionable, a lot of times looking back, I had my opinions about stuff, but I allowed myself to be, to have someone else's opinion influence me. But I was young. So, but very grateful for the tightness of the band. And we were competitive. We were really competitive when we did shows with people. We had something to prove. We had a point to make. And, I think that was good. I think that showed, and we weren't like vindictive or like mean about it. We just wanted people to know that we were the stuff. We were the deal,
What a great period of time. It's been so fun to be sitting in, being your big bro and watching from the time that you came and saw me, was that the early 90s? All the way through those great, wonderful, successful years, and then some of the not so successful years, right?
Right.
And that's what the journey is in the music business. It's not just glitz 24/7. I mean, there is it's a tough life, man. And for me watching you go through the great stuff was wonderful. It's hard for your big bro to watch you go through the struggles that you went through, and you're very transparent about that. And I've looked at interviews in the work you're doing now. Even I think it's important for people to know that it's okay to talk about depression and deal with that. Were you ever embarrassed to talk about that? Or is that something you're just like, hey, I need to talk about this now. I want to get better. How does it?
I think I was, definitely afraid to be transparent in the beginning, beginning of the 2000s. But I think, again, certain things come with age and I've been through a good amount of therapy that's sort of helped me to be more comfortable and about talking about it and realizing that you only get better by talking about it, and for all of the believers out there, we disarm the enemy every time we talk about it. So I think a little bit more freedom comes to all of us when we are able to share what we're going through with other people,
How do you think you got through that period besides talking about it? Was it your faith that really helped you?
My faith was a big part of it. My wife, my friends, you and I have so many things in common. With regards to, our voice and certain things that we've dealt with. And it helps so much to find common ground with people. I mean, I have so much empathy for people that struggle with certain things in their life. My heart really goes out to them. And I think you unless you have some sort of thing that you go through, you look at life differently, and you look at people, and you kind of want to carry people's weight because you already know pain and struggling. So you're like, what can I do to help you? So yeah.
I think it's great that you're so transparent and giving advice and being open about it. Because you're right, it's the only way that we get better.
And I don't mind saying anything about it too, Paul. I'm sure your listeners are like, "What's he talking about?" Well, again, pressures of my industry, really took its toll on me in a lot of ways, and I think vocally it affected me a great deal. Confidence-wise, it affected me a great deal. I struggled with some vocal issues, in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think some of it was because of pressure, and I've since learned, you know how we just keep learning more and more about ourselves and as we go through life and our journey. But I think some of my struggles that I had vocally, I'm finding out that they had to do with some herniated discs and bulging discs that are in my neck, which were due to lifting weights in the late 90s.
Wow.
And that's, you know, I learned from this chiropractor I've been doing some spinal decompression stuff with. He said a couple of years ago, he said, your C3, 4, and 5 keep your diaphragm alive. And, you know, kind of another illuminating moment for me. I didn't realize that your neck was so connected to your diaphragm. And so, you know, that I think it was maybe sort of an amalgamation of maybe multiple things that sort of played into that. And then, you know, of course, you know, depression comes from that kind of stuff too, and anxiety, because that's your instrument, and it's, you know, that's how you express yourself. And so, you know, that was a really tough time. And, you know, I'm still in the fight and still on the journey, but, I think just being, open about it and letting it take you where it needs to take you. I think it's definitely making me better overall. You know, because we learn more in the valleys than we do when we're on top of the mountain. So,
yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to go down that road. So I appreciate you saying, Paul, would you just let me just say what you're trying to say, would you? Because we didn't talk about that before, and I appreciate you taking the ball there and saying that. You and I share that similar issue with our voice. I mean, I talked openly about my voice problems with the fans of the show in my very first episode, and it can be debilitating to not be, for me in my instances, my speaking voice goes in and out, and I tell you, it's very hard to sometimes go out in public because you don't want to risk not having a voice. When you struggle with voice issues, you overthink things and overcomplicate things and play tricks on your mind, which sets you down this path of, it's not feeling sorry for yourself. It's depression. It's anxiety, and it's really tough. And dealing with it, even going to therapy and to try to get better, makes you look at that. And sometimes you don't want to look at that. It's a vicious cycle. And it's been great to have you as my ally on that. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? What about doing this? So that's been good. It's the what do we call it? The I can't talk and I can't sing podcast. That's what we're doing. Well, that's not true, as we all both know, man. You still sing your butt off. You've been coming to Minneapolis quite a bit, at least before COVID, and doing a solo gig up here. Your Minneapolis fans love you. Has this always been a hotbed for you?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I definitely wanted to say something about that. I can't put my finger on it, but I will say that my biggest following has always been in the Minneapolis area, but Minnesota in general. Back when record selling was a thing, we, you know, collectively sold more. We had more activity as far as record sales go in Minnesota than any other state in the entire U.S. And so I think that's why my heart is, I always tell people I feel like a transplant there. My heart is really always, you know, there. I love the fans there. I've met so many people. I've got so many great friends, you being one of them. I have such a a great community of friends, and I mean, I call all you guys family there in Minneapolis, and so many great memories. It's just such a great city. I mean, it's just, I've got many great memories over the past 20 something years, and I always anticipate coming there to play. So,
well, we were supposed to play a gig together last year, I believe. I hope that you and I have an opportunity to play this year, or at the very least in 22.
Yeah.
But you know what you got to do? I'm going to look for an in-person race. If you're comfortable, come up. The bedroom's still here. It's still got your name on it. Come stay with me. Let's run a race this year.
I'm in.
Yeah?
I'm in. Do it. Yeah.
Tell me what you have on your schedule. You're doing some touring right now, and have you got dates booked all the way through summer?
I am. I'm
That's a killer.
I don't want to speak too soon, but people can check out my calendar right now. Just go to bryanwhite.com and you can see all of the dates. I'm working up until September. And some of the dates are my dates, but I'm also on a multi-artist tour right now with people kind of from my era. We're out doing a tour together right now. Actually, I leave tonight. Dude, I haven't been on a bus in I don't know how long. I'm still trying to figure out how to sleep on it, and how to pee in the middle of the night. But
number two.
Tonight. Yeah, going to Macon tonight, and then playing in West Columbia, South Carolina on Saturday. So I'm so thrilled to be out traveling and playing. I've had some really good vocal nights too. I didn't mention that, but I've really been singing good and feeling really good about it. It's great to be up there with artists that they've had a lot of success, but they've lived a lot too. They've had a lot of life go down, and we relate to each other in a lot of ways, and you feel that camaraderie up there, and you don't have this big long show, and you're not really carrying the whole show. You're all doing it together, and you're playing maybe 5 or 6 tunes, and so it's really a fun experience.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Well, do me a favor, give Erica and the boys my love. Please come up to Minnesota. You know how we love you here. You are family. You are my little bro. Ladies and gentlemen, Bryan White. That's going to do it.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I love having you, man. And we'll be seeing you really soon.
I just want you to know I'm butting in here, and that's so rude of me.
That's okay.
Not very Southern of me, but I was at my wife and I were at my kids' track meet yesterday here in Brentwood. And we were walking before the race started, and there was a front bumper with the Prince symbol on it, and it was purple. And I should have took a picture of it and sent it to you. And I looked at the girl, and I was like, I just kind of gave her the thumbs up, and I said, I said, I bet I've spent more money than you have on his records. And she goes, I don't know. It was just a great moment. So just let you know, there's a purple family here in Nashville too.
I'll come down there and play my show then.
Come on, let's do it. I'll play tambourine or tour manage.
You can do all the above. Thanks, little bro.
You too.
That's it for this episode of Music on the Run, number 35. My great friend, Bryan White. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Music on the Run was hosted by yours truly, St. Paul Peterson. Edited and produced by my buddy, Davide Raso. Artist relations by Owen Sartori. Video editing by Tanner Montague. And a very special thanks to the people who financially support this podcast. And remember, make a difference in someone else's life today.